Gator Deloach is here with us. We have Senator Travis Hudson. You have Putnam too? Is this a part of your district? No. You know, people, like some of my people ask me, it's like, hey, Travis Hudson's running, you know, he wants you to endorse him. So I said I will endorse him. So I'm endorsing you for Senate. From the town of Wielaka, we have Mayor Jamie Watts with us here today.
Thank you, Governor.
Yes, Council President Jessica Finch, Councilwoman Tanya Long, Town Clerk Megan Allman, and Town Attorney Patrick Kennedy. So thank you all for coming. And we're also joined today by a friend of mine named Johnny Morris. He's a conservationist. He is a landowner here in Putnam County, and you may know him because he's the founder of Bass Pro Shops, which is very popular. So before I get with today's announcement, which I think will be exciting for Putnam County and will continue to move our economy forward, our conservation efforts forward, and really everything we've done to work hand in hand, I do just want to say a few things about the brutal inflation that we continue to see in this country. And if you go back last year, Biden said we will not have any inflation. They printed trillions of dollars and were warned, not just by people like me, but people that worked for Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, these liberal economists, said if you print this amount of money, you are going to spark a really significant inflation. And that was on the back of coming into office in January of 2021 and declaring war on American energy production. So you look now, you know, Biden's in the Middle East. He's going to go beg the Saudis and beg OPEC for oil. But part of the reason is because he kneecapped production here in the United States. And we had been energy independent functionally when he became president. And now we've taken huge steps back. And so the energy costs have really helped fuel all this inflation, not just at the gas pump, but also what you see in grocery stores, and every single small business is impacted by this. And so this has really been devastating to workers. It's been devastating to senior citizens on fixed income. It's been devastating to small businesses. And it is, unfortunately, a result of very poor policy choices that we've seen made over and over again. I don't see them recognizing that and being willing to reverse course, but this is, and in fact, not only they say there wouldn't be inflation, then they said it'd be maybe a blip, and then they said it was Putin's fault, and then this, and you know, it's accelerated. The print that came out yesterday accelerated. That was not slowing down. That was a 1.2% increase just over the month. Which is really, really significant, and that annualizes at more than the 9.1%. 9.1 is looking back a year up until the present. So this is a huge, huge problem. You know, so in Florida, what we do is we actually manage things properly when it comes to fiscal and budget and economy. You notice this restaurant here, you know, I was just talking to the owners. They probably would have gone out of business if we hadn't kept them open during COVID. And we saved the jobs of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people in this state and many thousands of small family-owned businesses by making sure that we were a free state. If you look at Florida's economic performance, we've outperformed the nation on just about every metric. Our unemployment rate is significantly lower than the nation. One thing that I think is significant about Florida is our labor force has grown much faster than the overall national rate. And part of that is because we had the state open. We understood that people had a right to work, business had a right to open. But things started really picking up here because there were only so many places you could go in this country and actually be free. You want to take a trip to California and have them shake you down for medical papers just to go buy a cheeseburger somewhere or to do all this? No, people don't want. They wanted to visit Florida. They wanted to move to all these different things. People wanted to invest here. But our labor force grew. What you're seeing in a lot of these other places is, and this is why the unemployment rate can be a little bit deceiving, Some of these other places have just had, they still haven't recovered their labor force. You had COVID, you had a lot of these bureaucrats saying, telling people to stay home and not work. They did trillions of dollars flushed into the economy, and a lot of people just totally fell out of the workforce from March and April of 2020 until the present. And so that's been a very sticky thing around. And we've dealt with it too. We've got job openings here, but our labor force has been able to recover. Why that matters is that, that helps drive inflation too. When you don't have a strong labor force, when people have done out. Now, I like tight labor markets because it allows people to get higher wages, which I think is really, really good. But on the flip side, you do want able-bodied people to be in the workforce. You don't want people to be on the sideline based on government policy. And so we've really led, and what we said was, when Biden did the additional unemployment benefits, we said no thank you to that because we had jobs available in the state of Florida. There was no reason to pay people not to work when you had a plentiful amount of jobs available. I understand during COVID when there was a lot of businesses not hiring, then people needed relief. But here in Florida, we believe in reemployment assistance, not unemployment. We want people to, if they fall down, to get help up, but the goal is to get them back into a job and get them working. So we've had that structured the whole time here in the state of Florida, and we've been much better off. And then from a budget perspective, we're now in fiscal year 22-23 starting July 1st. We finished last year's fiscal June 30th. The budget was about $102 billion for the year, and we now know that our surplus is almost $22 billion for last. That's the largest we've ever had in the state's history. And that's with no income tax. And then we've done a whole bunch of tax relief since I've been governor. We just did another $1.2 billion for this current fiscal year. So there's a lot of tax holidays. Some are for the full year. Some will be for specified periods of time. I know, my wife and I, we got a 5, a 4, and a 2-year-old. The 2-year-old is not fully out of diapers, and so we get tax-free diapers, and many other parents get that too. Not a bad thing to have, especially if they go through a lot of them. So there's a whole host of things that we've been able to do there to say, but we are fiscally in the strongest position that the state of Florida has ever been in modern history. And that's really, no one would have predicted that coming out of COVID. In fact, when COVID hit, people said because of tourism that our tourism would be shot and that we wouldn't have really the ability to have the economy thrive at all in the state of Florida. And we proved them wrong pretty much every step of the way. But certainly now when you look at it, you see. So what we're doing in Florida is we are trying to do whatever we can to protect the people of this state against the ravages of Bidenflation. We're trying to protect them against these bad policies coming out of Washington, D.C., and we're charting our own course that is a course that's proven to be successful. And so we're now in a position, you look at the budget we just signed into law, $1.2 billion in tax cuts, the most we've ever done, big budget surplus. We did the biggest increase in law enforcement compensation in the history of the state. You look at the pay increases for our state law enforcement, massive increases in salary, and then for all the state, local, and county, they hire new law enforcement, they get a $5,000 signing bonus. So that's going to be a huge, huge thing for a lot of people that are looking to escape some of these terrible jurisdictions where the police are treated horribly by the politicians and by the activists and everything like that. And oh, by the way, when they're treated horribly and they don't get support, what happens to the crime rate? It goes through the roof. So you've had a lot of people, a lot of vulnerable, innocent people that have been damaged significantly because of these terrible pro-criminal, anti-law enforcement policies in places like San Francisco, Chicago, and all these other places. So we've not done that, and I think you're going to see, the bonuses just became effective July 1st, but I think you're going to see huge amount of people applying for jobs at our municipal law enforcement agencies, our sheriff's departments, and the state agencies. And that's going to make the state safer because we're going to be a place where qualified people want to come. We also did biggest increase in teacher pay in the history of the state of Florida in this past year. And we're now going to be able to do even more to recruit teachers into the profession at a college, and we're also going to be rolling out a number of great proposals for next year about how we can build off that momentum. You know, we've done so much, and today is going to go into not just economic development, but also our conservation efforts. We've done more to protect the water quality and improve it in the state of Florida since I've been governor that has ever been done in the history of this state. If you look at what we've done in the Everglades, you look at what we've done in our springs, you look at what we've done across the board, we've put our money where our mouth is, we've got good policy, we've got good support financially, and we're getting great results. We're not done. We're going to do a lot more, but you see how important these waterways are to our way of life in the state of Florida, not just culturally, economically, and the whole 9 yards. So we're proud of being able to do, you know, I promised we would do $1 billion more in my 4 years than was done the previous four for water resources and water quality efforts, and we actually did much more than what I promised. We more than doubled, my 4 years more than doubled the previous 4 years in terms of support, and so that's a huge, huge thing. We're really proud of that. So, and then infrastructure. You know, we've done so much on infrastructure, and we've been able to do projects. This is an example of one. We've done so many things across this state to help. And, you know, I really work hard on a lot of our fiscally constrained counties. I'm the only governor that I think anyone can remember. I've done public events in all 67 counties in the state of Florida. You know, I've gone to places they've never seen a governor before. You know, but when we go, we're usually delivering. I usually don't come empty-handed. We're usually delivering support. And so these are communities. And the thing is some of our really big populous areas, you know, we've helped, and there's a lot. But, you know, you do some support in some of the rural communities, it goes a long way. They really can make good use of it. So we've used our Job Growth Grant Fund, our Rural Infrastructure Fund, and actually we got record funding on the rural infrastructure in this year's budget. So we've been doing that because it's important that we're there helping all 67 counties, you know, not just the handful that have, you know, a lot of population, and really stick to that. So we've done that, and today's a good example of doing that. We got more to do on infrastructure. We're going to have some good announcements on that going forward. We want to make, you know, the state's always grown really in the last 50-some years, 60 years, but it's growing. And look, I'm not asking anyone to come. I mean, if I could do an immigration system, and I'd probably do it. That's just, people can move where they want in our country, and the fact is people are fleeing poorly run states, and they're trying to go to states that are respecting people's ability to work and do business and freedoms and all that. And so people, they want to be safe in law and order states. So there's all those different things. And so we understand that, but we also understand that requires us to do more on infrastructure. And so we are going to be doing that 100%. So we're clicking, we're getting the job done. You know, people sometimes ask me, you know, what could be done with all the mess in Washington? And I say, you know what? You know, if we could just get a time machine and go back to January 20th, 2021, just do the opposite of everything Biden's done, we'd probably be in really good shape. But that's just not in the cards for us. So. All right, so why are we here today? We're here today because we have an opportunity through my office and working with Dane's department using the Governor's Job Growth Grant Fund to provide support for infrastructure for Putnam County in a way that will contribute to efforts at maintaining a good natural environment, but also expanding the economic base. And so we have right here, and I'm announcing a check for $3.5 million to the town of Wielaka to update and expand the town's aging wastewater infrastructure facilities. And so the existing businesses in the area that want to expand, or new businesses who want to open in the area, have been limited by the current infrastructure availability in terms of the wastewater. This award, the town of Wielaka and Putnam County will benefit from the sustainability of the infrastructure. We are anticipating that this will bring almost 1,900 new jobs to the area. We're also estimated to have a fiscal impact of over $5 million to the community. And then this, of course, will also help safeguard nearby water resources by increasing the capacity of the plant. We believe that this makes the community more economically resilient, environmentally resilient, and we think that this helps provide a foundation for more great things to happen in Putnam County. So I'm excited to do it. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to be able to hear from some folks. But before we do it, I will present the check to the town of Weelaca.
We appreciate your support and all the fine work that you do in Tallahassee.
Great. All right. Congratulations, y'all.
Thank you for keeping the state of Florida free.
Of course. Happy to do it. All right. So we're going to hear from a couple folks. And so I do have Johnny Morris, founder of Bass Pro Shops, come up here and say a few words.
Thank you, Governor. Hey, does anybody here like to fish? Does anybody here like to fish? Okay. I sure hope so, living by the banks of this beautiful river. So the last few days, like last 3 days, I've been over on the coast with my longtime friend Bill Dance, and we've been fishing for snook and big groupers. And and the governor asked me to come here, and I was kind of torn because, one, it'd be an honor to be here, but the fish are biting really good. So I've been nervous wreck hearing from Bill all day. He's still there fishing and catching some big fish. Yesterday I hooked on this grouper. I don't want to carry on too long about fish stories, but it goes back. This state is the best state for fishing. I mean, I love my home state of Missouri, but Florida is like, and a lot of it has to do, how, like the governor was speaking about, how you manage your resources. But I hooked this big Goliath grouper yesterday. Fought that fish 3.5 hours. Finally, it drags us to the ocean. He got off, so we didn't hurt him too bad. But it's just memories you make. And myself, I just wanted to be here more in a capacity of somebody that loves fishing than in any other capacity. And Governor, I just, as a fisherman, from all people, all our fellow anglers, I just wanted to say thank you for your steadfast commitment to conservation and the future of fishing. I was just speaking with Eric Sutton, the director, and he was just reminding me, like, that you've signed and supported the biggest budget for conservation in the history of your state, and that's awesome. And just everywhere you look, our company, our people would feel like teamwork is the most important thing, and conservation means everything to the future of sports that we serve. And so the partnership we've had here, Trophy Bass, and all this is just special to us. And I come here, this river. I mean, you probably all know this, but Florida is the #1 state for fishing in America. It's the #1 state for boating in America. It's the #1 state for our company, Bass Pro Shops. But it's special in this river here. What a treasure, what a daydream spot for every angler, not just here in Florida, but from around the country, to some extent from around the world, dreams to get to come here and fish on the St. Johns River. And I remember the first time I came here was a little over 50 years old. I'm getting kind of old, so I come to the first national bass tournament they had, and I get about 100 miles out, and I see these big billboards that says, "Welcome to the bass capital of the world." Man, I was already a nervous wreck. But anyway, it's a special place, and I know we've been happy to be a part of the Weelaca community for, like, I don't know, a long time, maybe 30, 40 years. And we had a fish camp over there. Most of you probably know. And a couple of years ago, the neighbor's property, Mrs. Sue Trednick's property, came for sale, and we purchased it. And there's been a lot of speculation, like, what are we doing, this or that? And I heard some wild things. But I can just tell you, we honestly, I told the mayor this one time I spoke with him. Our main thing is we love this river. We love the community. We don't have any real big particular plans, but when we develop some or have a wish list, we'll be sure and work with everybody to be part of the community, and hopefully whatever we end up, if we do something, everybody be proud of it. But that's kind of a side note. we do love this place, and I mainly wanted to be here, Governor, just to say thank you to you for your passion for things that a lot of us care about in the environment, but also the future of fishing, and to support these communities with infrastructure so they can be prosperous and go forward. So I'm very
Absolutely.
proud that you invited me.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and I mean, and I think of all the Bass Pro, I think Florida's #1 with a bullet in terms of your sales, and we're happy with that. We're proud of that. People love it. Obviously, growing up in Florida, living in Florida, but then people will travel a long ways to be able to come and to fish and to boat in the state of Florida. And we actually, in the Gulf this year, we did the longest red snapper season than we've ever done. You should see how excited all the anglers were to be able to do that. It's like they thank me for it all the time, but we want to make sure that they have great opportunities. And so we're really fortunate, and we really think that this award will help all of these great things about Florida right here in Putnam County. Okay, Dane Eagle.
I want to thank the governor for his leadership on the Job Growth Grant Fund. A lot of states, they hand out checks to big businesses to lure them to their states, and that's not fair to the taxpayer. What we do in the state of Florida is we invest in communities and in people, and that's what the governor does with the Job Growth Grant Fund. He's done $100 million in his term alone, another $50 million coming this year, and thanks to the legislature for answering the governor's call and his leadership. Senator Travis Hudson got the coveted DeSantis endorsement today. You can walk it in, but I know he's a hard worker, so he'll be working hard. But beyond that, the governor, as he mentioned, has been in all 67 counties with public announcements. And he's here in Willaca and Putnam County today. All signs are pointing to potential recession because of the federal government and the spending that they've been doing. But because of the governor's free market principles, keeping Florida free, we are going to be in a position that is going to keep us better than most states. We are the #1 state for net migration. So when you got Governor Gavin Newsom doing ads in Florida, he's talking to a lot of people that left his state to come to Florida. That's the irony in that. And we're going to continue to make sure that we're leading the way. We have more workers here in the state of Florida than we did before the pandemic. And if a recession does hit us, we're going to be better off because of the people investing in our state. Thanks to Governor DeSantis, and we're going to make sure that Willaca and Putnam County are not left behind. Thank you.
So we'll be doing more. We have, I think, as I mentioned, Rural Infrastructure Fund. We do have more job growth grant. So we tell the local communities is if you have good ideas that are really going to be value added, we want to be a part of those discussions, and we want to be able to help where we can to not just with infrastructure, but we've done a lot of workforce education in Florida. We've expanded CDLs, commercial driver's license slots at our state colleges, many state colleges around the state. That's a high demand job. They'll pay you a $15,000 signing bonus if you start off as a truck driver now. Walmart will pay you $110,000 as a starting salary. And so those opportunities are there in that and other types of skilled labor. And we want to make sure that people have the pathways to be able to do that. You do not need to go to a 4-year brick and ivy university to be successful. There's a whole host of ways where you can get skills and you can do very, very well, particularly in the economy, it is now where there are needs and high demand for some of these skills. And the good thing is you don't go into debt when you do that, which is really great. And I look around and how many students have been told over the last generation to just mortgage their entire future just to get a sheet of paper, some degree. But you know what? Degrees in zombie studies ain't going to have the C's part for you. So you just need to realize that and make your own decision. And one of the things we're proud of, particularly as you've seen the country in this inflationary spiral, the likes of which we haven't seen since the late 70s, early 80s, is since I've been governor, no tuition increases at our state universities. You can go, it's like $6,000, $6,400, that's unheard of across the country. And so what we say is, okay, higher education, one, it needs to be focused on the mission. It shouldn't be about ideological indoctrination. It should be about doing core things well, be rigorous, but it also should be something that's affordable and doesn't require you to go $150,000 in debt. I'm not a fan of doing that. It's one thing to go into debt to be an engineer from like MIT. Yeah, you're going to be able to be fine. But you have so many of these others, exorbitant price tags for some of these universities around our country. And what are you getting out of it? You're not really getting huge value. So in Florida, we've done more for workforce education than any state over the last 4 years. We're going to do even more, but if you look at the number of apprenticeships that are available now, you look at what we're able to do at our state colleges, very, very good. In fact, we just did with the Bright Futures to be able to let them take that to the state colleges without having to do the volunteer. If you have a job, you can do that, and those hours will count. So that's something very important for a lot of families, and so we're going to keep doing that. We're going to continue to find ways to be able to expand pathways for people to be able to succeed. But I would say with this, what we're doing today, and what we've been able to do across this state, we are doing a lot of exciting things, and we've really only just begun a lot of the good work that we're going to do. So thank you all. We appreciate it. All right. Anybody have any questions?
Julianne with CBS4, you've mentioned in the past that you would like to expand pro-life protections on abortion. What does that expansion look like?
It's interesting. Some of the people in Washington, can we actually agree that women get pregnant and not men? Because they don't seem to say that. I mean, it's just unbelievable, some of the stuff that you're hearing about that. We passed some of the best pro-life legislation this state's seen in many decades. We lost in court on the first one, and so we're petitioning to get that up to the Florida Supreme Court. But basically, we've had for many decades now very radical state-level judicial decisions that really makes us closer to China and North Korea, when it comes to being very radical with abortion policy. And so that's not the appropriate thing for courts to be imposing on the state of Florida. And so we are doing that request. We have not heard from the appellate court yet, but I think we probably will pretty soon. And then the question will be, does the Florida Supreme Court take that case? And I think that they probably will, because I think this is a really important thing for them to decide. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I just want to make a little statement. I pray, I'm not a public speaker, but bear with me. I pray that you take another term of governor this coming.
Well, I'm on the ballot in November, so you guys will be able to do it. So we appreciate that. All right. I appreciate that, but anybody else have anything? Yes, sir.
Talk about infrastructure, my personal infrastructure, my house. Big thing. No, it isn't a thing. Why are the state allowing insurance companies to dictate to the homeowners, you got to tear off that great roof, put on a new roof at arbitrarily 15 years? State full of seniors who have limited money. You're allowing them, the manufacturers, to sell 25, 30, 35-year single legally with a guarantee. But at 15 years, we got to rip off the roof. There's no problem. The contract doesn't say, insurance policy doesn't say, you got to rip off the roof at 15 years. So why does the state allow insurance companies to get away and roofers?
What do you mean? You're forced to replace? You're not forced to do it. What do you mean? If you
Renew your policy. They won't write your policy.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
They won't renew your policy.
So we just did a special session in the legislature to try to deal with some of the there's a lot of problems that have been built up over the years. A lot of it is lawyer driven. We've had 8% of the claims, but 78% of the litigation in Florida in terms of homeowners policies. We did more than we've ever done in May, but we're going to do more coming back next year. I mean, look, a lot of this is, certain people benefit from having the system, be the way it is. And so, our view is, we want to get rid of the clutter. The policy should reflect, the risk. And then if you have damage, you get it, but you shouldn't go and use the insurance policy to just get an upgrade that has nothing to do with damage. You insure for the damage. So there's all these different things that are going on. So I think we did more than anyone's done in May, but we didn't do 100%. So we are going to do more. So stay tuned. Yep.
I apologize if I sounded rough. Thank you for your service to God, to your family, to your country, and to our state. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Good question.